Our mission is to change the world through systems that enable innovation by everyone, everywhere, every day, resulting in increased speed to market and decreased risk. It's all about systems. Systems that enable rather than control. Now, we have people from a wide range of countries. I think we've got almost all the continents here. I don't have Antarctica, but we've got the others represented on the broadcast today. So for those of you who are new, innovation engineering is grounded in over 30 years of experience working in categories across the board, wide range of things that have been created by it. And in fact, one of those, we're going to give a case study here at the end of this keynote to give you a sense as to what a leap innovation really is. Innovation engineering is a new field of academic study and leadership science. It's comprised of 6 college courses: Create, the creation of ideas that are meaningfully unique; Communicate, taking those ideas and articulating them so that others can become a part of them and so that customers can adopt and understand them; Commercializing, making those ideas real. These are the 3 core that get the ideas going, and then system-driven leadership, which is sort of a force multiplier to how to create the culture where we can enable innovation even faster and with less risk. On campus, there's also experience courses that come together. These are all taught on campus at universities as both undergraduate and graduate school courses. There's also an executive program, a innovation college, same content, same courses, compressed for executives. And what's really important in all of the stuff that we do is that we only teach what is validated with data and real-world application. There's nothing that's brought in here that is not part of the core, that is real stuff that's really done in the real world. We work with both some of the world's largest corporations as well as the Innovation Engineering Institute has a real program through the foundation of helping small companies as well as nonprofits and universities, and in a broad range. And we're very excited about all of the nonprofits, both small and large nonprofits, that are very involved with the program. And recently there was a group of ladies who came from Hawaii who have a program that helps Native Hawaiians. And one of the things that people talk about, just after they were here, they sent me some shirts that they had done up, because there is kind of there's sort of a irreverent slogan for what innovation engineering is about. And it's here on their shirts, doing wicked cool shit that matters. And that's what it's about, folks. It's about doing stuff that makes a real difference in people's lives. Now, it's a digital world. However, because most innovation software is developed by people who don't actually use it, we got frustrated. So collectively, we hired some programmers to create the tools we need to do our work. And so there's a whole collection of digital tools. I'll be giving updates on those as to what's happened in the last year and where we're going. Massive updates across the board. I mean, in today's world, if you're not using digital elements in your work, you're getting behind. You just don't even know it. For those of you new, the fundamentals of the entire program come down to a very simple equation. Meaningfully unique ideas, which is our destination, come from stimulus mining, filling the brain with stimulus and making new connections. They are amplified, not additively, but exponentially through the diversity of thinking and bringing other people together. And this is our potential to the level that we drive out fear. Fear shuts us down, and it's at epidemic proportions in our culture today. A little bit more detail. Stimulus mining has many dimensions to it. It has the classic insight mining, which is oftentimes used talking to the customer. Although in our case, it's more about anticipating the future for the customer, leading the customers proactively rather than just reactively. We like to listen, but we're really focused on helping lead them and having them react to our ideas and then making them great together. But we stretch beyond that to wisdom and patent mining, using these, some of the greatest sources for ideas in the entire world: market mining, competition, future, and unrelated mining. Diversity of thinking involves both internal collaboration as well as innovation supply chain externally, doing this in a hyperspeed. There's been a lot of talk about this sort of open innovation and doing it. Very little reality to it. We're seeing quite a bit more of that as we've taken these to the next generation systems. Driving out fear comes from rapid cycles of learning, known as the Deming cycle, plan, do, study, act, as well as fast and cheap quantitative research. Very fast and cheap. The three benefits of innovation engineering. Number one is a reliable innovation ROI. You get a pipeline, you'll see an example of that in this talk. Quite simply, you get a return on investment that is clear, quantified, and known. Culture change, you create a culture of innovation where everybody's engaged. We increase speed through alignment of strategy to tactics and of language so that we have a common language and how we do it. And we decrease risk through discipline, data-driven learning cycles, as well as quantitative research and risk-adjusted Monte Carlo sales forecasts. Just for those of you who are new, I saw a number of people on the list as I was just scanning through it. This is an open movement in that we are very open to partnering with people, and it's very easy to become part of it. We have over 50 partners now, licensed partners, be they universities or commercial or nonprofit. And just let us know if you'd like to have more information about that, but it's a very easy process to do. So this conference is focused on enabling leap innovations. Leap innovations are the disruptive ones, the ones that cause transformation, that's separate from core innovations, sort of the incremental ones. Both are valuable, both important, but we're going to focus on the leap for this conference. And why do we do it? Well, leap creates higher margin offerings. The more meaningfully unique it is, the more customers are willing to pay more money for it. It also creates pull within the organization. It creates a pull for people wanting to do more innovation because they can see the value to it. It creates momentum for change, creates pride within the organization, creates hope. And then there it is again, is cool shit that matters. It makes a difference. So here's the agenda for today. Opening keynote here about 9. It's going to be all interactive as we go through. At the end of this, there'll be an interactive segment that will take you through. Thinking to the future, same thing. We're going to go through some stuff to engage you to think, then some interaction. You're going to use the handouts that were sent to you. We'll take a break for lunch. We're going to come back and give you sort of a quick synopsis of some of the brand new system-driven leadership classes, the first 4 classes, 37, 38, 39, and 40. We're going to take you through those. Give you a little session on taking it home on how you can adapt and use some of the stuff that you learned very directly. We're very much about applied. Talk about what we've learned, and that'll be the end. Okay, so in summary, going back to where we are, this is the annual conference, and the keynote is known as a place for us to stop and to think about where we are and where we're going. You know, the classic diffusion model has innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. We always tend to think of early adopters, but in truth, the innovators, they're the crazy ones. They're the ones who are willing to try these things. Now, the truth is that this model, when you go into it deeper, what you find is it actually doesn't look quite this smooth. This is an idealistic view of it. In truth, it really looks more like this with a saddle. There's a bit of a saddle that goes up. Things get going and then they slow down. And in our case, we went the first 2 years were sort of experiments. Next 2 years, we got serious. And the last 2 years, we've been making it real with the early adopters. Fact is that saddle on average is 4 years. And many people give up. But the good news is that as you come out of that saddle, you see literally a 50x growth has the potential to exist. We believe, our theory is that what happens is the innovators are the crazy people. The early adopters, early majority, they're the sane ones. And in the last 2 years, we've been working with those people. Because you need those people, because with the early adopters buying in, then that's the signal to the early majority and the late majority to start to come in as well. So our focus for what we called Innovation Engineering 3.0 has been about reliability, increasing reliability, so to enable the masses, make it easier to join the movement and for leadership to support. Last year, we talked that the status of the movement was that the innovation engineering innovators are fully engaged and out of the saddle, and that we were really pushing into this. This year, as we've released 3.0, we are finding that the early adopters are fully engaged and out of the saddle. When we start with organizations and they start to get involved, what we're finding is it is a much faster adoption through those people because there is that much more discipline, that much more maturity as we're starting to get the program really together. And so we're seeing much faster takeoff with organizations than we did before. It's documentation, it's reliability, it's just making the movement smoother and easier to do. So this year we got $13.5 billion as of the end of April of active projects in the system. So it's moving. It's all moving well. So what have we learned? what have we, the Innovation Engineering Institute team, this would be the collection of academics and business that come together, partners at the University of Maine, as well as the team at the Eureka Ranch. What have we learned in the past 12 months? Well, remember this diffusion of innovations we just talked about? Well, the first thing we've learned is it really takes a leap innovation made real, to generate the real pull inside organizations, especially with the early adopters. You know, when you can get that big thing, that thing that is disruptive, then you generate an interest from people that accelerates the movement. If you start out with smaller ideas, core ideas, in other words, walk before you run, which is very reasonable, I understand the thinking behind it, that does not cause enough of a wow to generate the pull. They're like, oh, that's fine, but why learn it new? We can do that anyways. Maybe it's a little bit more efficient this way, but it doesn't matter. But when you get something that makes them say, wow, that's what creates the pull and really gets the attention of the early adopters. They're not going to change for no good reason. So you have to give them something significantly. When it comes to these leaps made real, one of the things we're finding is recreate is the norm. So the old model where you would just create an idea and go, ta-da, and get it, doesn't work. There has to be sort of never-ending improvement in the ideas. And you have to do, oftentimes in development, you have to do a recreate session and start with a blank slate, a sort of idealized redesign, and restart the thing and think about it again. Because the gravitational pull of all of the issues that you're going to get are going to cause you challenges. So you must be open to recreate. And real expertise is a must. Okay, you can't do this. While it is true that anybody can do this, if you want to get acceleration, you've got to have on your team people that know, who've done innovation before and who've done it. And either you have them on the team or you rent there. People that have been there, done that. You have to have some people that are used to making prototypes, used to the challenges and dealing with the uncertainty. That's what you need to get the leaps going. So you need to get some people. And if you're not filing patents, you're not doing leap. I mean, you got to raise the standard to something that is non-obvious to somebody skilled in the art, which is the basic standard for a patent. And if you don't need quantitative research, if you don't need to run quantitative, then you're not on the edge of uncertainty. You're not pushing the edges. If it all looks good, you're playing it safe, and safe is not going to be a leap. And lastly, as if not more important, you're going to have to love it. You're going to have to love the idea because it's just too much work going against the grain to make history and to do something that matters. If you want to change the world, you're going to have to love it. Okay, so number one, leap. Number two, learning. To generate word of mouth, awareness, both inside and outside of the organization, we need higher test standards. We have to take our standards up. Now, recognize we have 3 levels of meaningful uniqueness. We have leap projects, core projects, and we also have sort of those core ideas, those just do it ideas. Now, in the last year, we made a statement that we were going to do some experimentation, and we mentioned about a year ago at the conference, we mentioned that we had found some new data that indicated that maybe our standards were too low. We had done some research that found that at low levels of meaningful uniqueness, there's not much of a slope to the curve. In other words, you're making it better, but it's not doing much. And then you hit a certain takeoff point where things really start to kick in, and it becomes a more exponential rise that happens to you. So the new standards for ideas, the just do it ideas are 5s, core projects, those incremental projects, a 6, and leap projects, a 7. And when you get to 7, what you're basically doing is you're going to double your odds of word of mouth when you get up to 7. So those leap projects that have a high uncertainty, high unknown, you have to be at least a 7. And that's a blended purchase and new and different score, weighted appropriately. We need to make sure that we don't accept prudent innovations. Those prudent things, they're proper, they're professional, but they just don't generate the excitement that we need. Learning number 3, Deming was right about how to improve a system. I will tell you that over the last year and a half, I've been on quite a journey with Kevin Cahill, who you can see here on the left. Kevin Cahill, Deming's grandson, the leader of the Deming Institute, Walter Werner, who's not pictured there, that's me there actually. Walter Werner, who worked for my dad when he was at National Corporation, went on to become a Deming Master. have really been working with me on the system stuff. And we've had lots of long dialogues and discussions about it. And that's what we will be teaching just after lunch today. We will be teaching some of the core principles to this. But as a quick overview, it starts with Deming's definition of a system. A system is two or more parts that work together to accomplish a shared aim. In the context of an organization, this means multiple departments in the same place. This is also known as a bureaucracy. These interconnective tissues between the departments. Those are the things that we're talking about when we talk system. The principles of system-driven leadership, which are basically come from the system of profound knowledge that Dr. Deming did, or as they call it now, the Deming management method. First is appreciation for a system, making the system visible and known. Second, knowledge about variation, special cause and common cause. Number 3, psychology, positive and negative. So having made the system visible, identified the areas of variation and negative psychology, we then do the theory of knowledge, plan, do, study, act, experiments to improve it. We will go through this in detail, just after lunch. So Innovation Engineering 3.0 is about enabling everyone to innovate. The aim is to have systems to enable employees, not control. It's interesting, I had just gave a talk, and a fellow came up to me who was the newly appointed president of a company, and he'd been there for many years. And after I talked, he said, Doug, what struck me about your talk is that for many years we used to enable. When our company was younger, we enabled employees. But then as we grew older, and the senior executives who had been with the company a long time got older and less involved in the day-to-day, instead of enabling, they moved to a control system to control the employees rather than enable them, because that was their way of staying in touch because they were distant from the work. Dr. Deming was asked how he would summarize his message in a few words. He said, I'm not sure, but it would have something to do with variation. Later he said, I said earlier it had to do with variation, but I've given it more thought, and I would say it has to do with pride of work. So how are we doing on pride of work? Study of 12,000 people shows we're not doing so good on pride of work. And see, my friends, as it said, 94% of failures are due to the system, 6% are due to the worker. When you improve the system, then workers can work smarter and feel real pride of work. So here's the updates on where we've gotten to with systems to enable on both the human system side and the digital system side. I'm going to take you through elements that are completed and ones that are very close to completion, but that are on their way sometime this summer. On the human system side, the biggest human system upgrade in 3.0 has been in the classes. I mean, major changes in the classes. Communicate, 70% new. Commercialize, 70% new. System-driven leadership, 100% new classes. Those of you who've attended Innovation College or taken the courses on campus, I suggest to you that you think about the idea of going into labs and watching the videos again, because most all of these are going to be new, and there's some pretty valuable stuff. We're going to give you a top line here of some of the things, but there's a lot of new stuff there. Also created an Innovation Engineering Express, an executive overview, which is valuable for getting teams to get adopted and to become part of it. In the certifications that we do, we've been able to get a better understanding as time's gone on of the aims of these and what they really are. Green belt really gives you the fundamentals, blue belt, the deep knowledge, and black belt, as would be expected, the real world mastery. The certification for black belt, the aim is to build the confidence and capability to lead. It starts with the Innovation College assignments to complete those, and a few after class case studies. Then we do real work on blue cards and workshops. We define a project and do some system improvements and have the recommendation of a black belt coach. So again, all focused on the work. 85% of the work is applied to your field of study, your university, your nonprofit, your for-profit. So it's really not that painful. January 2017, it was going to come out in November, but there's a little bit of an election going on that's going to kind of slow things down. So we will be, the book will be out, Innovation Engineering, System-Driven Innovation. I'm working right now on moving it from a 9th grade to a 6th grade without losing content. This book is more complicated than most of my books have been, so I'm working on that. We have a new Innovation Engineering Academy program, which is great for helping in rural economies or very small businesses or entrepreneurs. It's bite-sized pieces that's in process. That'll be out this fall. We've upgraded Greenbelt. That's already been recorded. That is in testing right now. That should be released, as well as a patent college. That'll be a little bit later this fall, to teach people about patents. And throughout the education program, there are dozens and dozens of upgrades that have been implemented. If we were to think about the system in a basic sense, the fundamentals are the stimulus, diversity, and driving out fear. And we have a strategy and an idea structure known as blue cards and yellow cards, and then risk management processes to make that work. The biggest digital upgrade in 3.0 has been the metrics dashboard. And this has been a huge pile of work to get it right. Lots of anxiety about putting metrics on this. Dr. Deming talked about that quite a bit because, frankly, metrics can be used. They can be used for good as well as for evil. And our goal has been to try to make sure that we're using them for good. There are two halves to the challenge. There's the system, and then there's also the culture. With the system, our goal is simply our dependent variables to drive the innovation pipeline. Innovation pipeline is a value we will realize in sales and savings as we do it. And interestingly, the pipeline is not just the sum of our projects, because projects die and change on the way to market. Rather, the project values need to be weighted. Now, we can start because we've got enough data here to look at to give you some starting places, but then as you gain more experience, you can customize these weightings. A project early on is not worth as much as a project that is very closer to going to market. So our dependent value is the rated value of projects in the pipeline. It tells us our future. And then the question that one would have would be, what actions and activities will cause our innovation pipeline to grow? Again, we have the power of wonderful analytics, and what we find is that the number one thing that drives growth of the pipeline is sessions, whether that is create sessions, accelerators, recreate sessions, or problem-solving sessions. But when we get teams together with stimulus and diversity and we start some rapid experimentation, we see great things. Next is cycles of learning, then collaboration, research, patents, and of course, education. Culture. Well, this one was hard. This was hard to try to figure out what it was. And we've looked at lots of articles, lots of research, and we finally found an article that really, really helped us identify what really drove success. And it's proactive versus reactive. How much are people in a proactive mode versus a reactive? This is what guides our culture improvement. It also drives the pipeline. Amazingly, the more people are leading instead of following, we get a positive correlation with a whole pile of relationships of positives happen. So what we want to get people to do is to not feel like a victim, but to feel like they can take charge and make a difference in their world. Importantly, as we put this together, one of the things that we were very focused on was to create a bureaucracy. Oftentimes, reporting systems require somebody to do an awful lot of administrative work, and we said, let's vaporize that. What if there was none that was required? And so a lot of work has gone on by the digital team to make this automated. Totally automated. You have to do nothing to get this data. In fact, recently I gave a presentation to a board of directors on where they are as a company after 6 months. And the data that you're about to see, and I've disguised the company, identification, et cetera, the data was gathered literally in 2 minutes. It took me 2 minutes to gather it. First thing was the pipeline, the value of the pipeline, and we talked about how we discount it based on the stages. The raw value was 71 million, the discounted value was 10 million. Next up was some information on some very positive collaborations that have happened with big customers, innovation sessions that had happened, recreate problem-solving sessions, about 98 documented cycles of learning that were done, hands-on work with customers and qualitative, and 27 quantitative research tests. This was all in 6 months, as well as 5 provisional patent applications. We also talked about the culture, where people are and how they're feeling about things. And you can see the relationships of where folks are. And so this information now in the metrics panel really helps us to give us more information about what's happening. We've also changed the language that matches the system-driven leadership classes. And so we've got some language in here with regards to system innovations that are on there. We've also added on the back of the yellow card an invention sketch or math game plan showing the importance of patents that continue to grow. Now, next up, we know with knowledge about variation is really important. We need to understand variation. And this next wow, the second biggest impact in digital, is a personal dream of mine that's been fulfilled. It's something I've been looking to do for a long time. And this major improvement is the addition in projects of what's called a 5-year Monte Carlo forecast. This is a forecast that allows you early on, when you don't know a lot, to be able to now forecast the sales. You enter estimates. A conservative estimate, most likely an aggressive. 1 in 5 chance the number's less, 1 in 5 chance the number's higher. And you put in your uncertainty, and from that, the model then predicts for you over 5 years what your sales potential is. It also identifies those areas that are the potential death threats. Those are those areas where the variance divided by the mean indicates these are the highest variance areas. It's a powerful tool now available on all projects. Now, you can't do plan, do, study, act without prototypes, concept prototypes or functional prototypes. And we have to start out with just bad ones. I mean, just crazy ones. And while these are wrong, they are useful. And one of our learnings this year has been the courage to be stupid is required. We need to be willing to try the crazy. Whether it's putting nails in fish to see if you can find a way to take frozen fish and bring it out, defrost it faster and with better conditions, or putting whiskey in a pressure cooker to see what you can do. We need to push the envelope on these prototypes. In Discover, we've moved to a new approach where the goal is to make develop decisions in 4 weeks, many more cycles than weeks. So we're doing a lot more cycles now than weeks. So we're not tied to weeks. Well, we don't want to take any longer than 4 weeks to get a decision made. So cycles are not weekly now. They tend to be daily or 3 or 4 a week, but still trying to get the whole thing done in 4 weeks and so we can go faster. We're also doing a lot more recreate sessions the minute we go into develop. When we do develop alpha and we're looking to diverge, we're running recreate sessions to look to see what the other possibilities. In checklist, we've had customizations for phases, death threats, and milestones. We've got new project templates coming that have tasks and punch lists. And this is especially helpful in development where we've got lots of stuff we have to do that we can clarify. In the rapid research area, we've had a lot of wonderful upgrades. One of them is the pain-free diagnostics. So now, while we've had good data, now you can click a button and you can start to see cross segments of how people responded to the various ideas. You can break these apart. You've got the ability to literally cut the data wherever you want by just doing a click, splitting the data so that you can look at it in different ways. This is absolutely freaking amazing. It is so amazing. I just, having used it, I can't imagine going back any other way. We also have a new tool has been added, a Trailblazer digital Delphi system. And this is a validated method for getting more accurate data from a group of people. It was developed by the RAND Corporation originally. And it allows us to predict the future, to estimate numbers, for evaluating projects, doing planning. Very simple. You give some background. It can be a concept board. It can be a description. It can be a yellow card. It can be a blue card. You can input these in, whatever you'd like to do. And then you ask a question that can be answered with a number. This is then sent out to a collection of people. They give a response. You then go through 3 cycles, sending it back out again for them to give feedback. And they get to see the responses from others. It's an amazing system, folks. And you can learn more about it in the tools page or just Google Delphi if you want. Delphi is a trademark, so we're using it as a descriptive term here in recognition of that. On rapid tests, there's tons of improvements, connecting to projects, more custom questions, practice mode, etc. Collaboration Cafe, simplification, requests and blogs and mailing lists we used to have. Now we're only going to have cafes. So you're about to see, this is not shipped yet. It's in beta test, but we're going to go from having collections of these different things that sometimes people get confused to one. However, it's going to have useful complexity. Within the Collaboration Cafe post, you're going to have 4 types of posts that you can put up. So they go into the same list, but different sort of templates to start with. One is what you've got now, which is the idea post for sharing news and ideas. You'll also have request posts that you can do, taking that structure and bringing it over here, so to make that simpler. And you'll also be able to do a Blitz Create post where you can create a real-time online chat session to create or problem solve. A lot of this is being used while sessions are going on, and this should help do it. Again, we can do it separately, but this keeps it documented in the same place. One of my favorites is there's now going to be a team learning post for asking, what did you learn? What did you learn? Only now we will be capturing that and saving it. So useful complexity, idea, requests, Blitz Create, and team learning, all in the same cafe, same place. All will have inline, in posts, video uploads, image uploads, no need to download. You'll be able to, URL links, and so you've got that real-time playing. You got the option to join a cafe, as well as an option to leave now, and to organize your cafes coming. You can, with one click, you can change delivery to, do you want the first posts or first posts and responses, on what frequency that you want them. We have an Apple app now that's free that you can download. An Android app is in development as well. Patent ROI, got a collection of upgrades here, 100% rebuild, literally 100% rebuild. U.S. Patent and Trademark Office has improved their data stream. We were using the one that they originally had. We've worked back and forth with them. We've got a better search algorithm, smarter alerts. This is live now. So big upgrade to this thing. Is massively more accurate and as well as speed. We've got an ideas to patent upgrade that's in test right now, driven by a patent drawing and yellow card. It should be a huge leap for us. So what's next? Where are we going? With Innovation Engineering 3.0, I believe we are ready to expand. We really are ready to have that 50x growth. It's time to accelerate our cycles of learning. The faster we learn, the sooner we change the world. In some places, we're going to restart and reboot where needed. We have 2 priorities for the year. Number 1 is to spread the message through the book coming out in January. Podcasts will be starting this fall. We've got public relations starting. We got a new website. And this includes both expanding across the inside of companies, expanding the colleges and universities, as well as getting a lot more innovation engineering network partners. Second is system intelligence, smarter, easier to learn, digital human systems, adding more horsepower to all of our stuff. A way to think about this is, while we said this year would be 3.0, as Apple has a prone to do, they put out a new version, or they do an S model that tends to have more power and sort of cleans up a bunch of stuff. That's basically, this is going to be one of those S-type years for us, so as we're working to make those. Tentative, our plan is for the 5th annual conference that'll be done on the internet. We're going to do this each year, is what the current plan is, October 19th of next year. We're going to move it to the fall because there's a lot of challenges sometimes just before the summer holidays. Now, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, and as our timing goes on here, somewhere over in Europe. And so I'm going to give you a story of Leap Innovations to close out this keynote, to show you what we're talking about when we talk about a big leap innovation. And we're going to go to our friends. Many of you know John Muldoon at Edrington. Edrington is owned by a nonprofit trust, and they make a number of wonderful products, including the wonderful Macallan, the world's most expensive whiskey. They have been involved and a supporter of innovation engineering for a very long time. For many, many years, they've been doing this. Well, the whiskey world has a challenge. You've got your millennials, and then you got your boomers. And the boomers are the ones that primarily drink the whiskey. And so this is quite a challenge that we've got. The other challenge is it takes a long time to make a great whiskey. Whiskey and wood and time is a chemical reaction. And it's a very slow reaction that takes many seasons of warming and cooling. So what we've figured out is a way to do the same thing, only faster. We take American oak, fire roasted, young spirit, and then, of course, we use a chemical reactor. We use cycles of pressure, and voila, you can get amazing smoothness. With this technology, we can engineer new taste experiences. We call it the scientific spirit technologies. Here's the Brain Brew crew. James from the University of Maine, and then Joe and Bruce and Richard from here at the ranch. The benefits of this are faster cycles. We can do 72 product development cycles in 7 days versus one cycle in 12 years. Patents, massive collection of patents. Lower cost, there's no barrels, no warehouse, no weight. Really rapid cycles of learning. Here's our friend John Muldoon on the right-hand side in both pictures, running fail fast, fail cheap experiments. And product performance. You can see what's happened with our concept scores through cycles of learning as they've continued to go up. So does it matter? Well, this is one of our first products. It'll be out in a few weeks, Timberwolf Smoked Rum, getting outstanding scores, as well as Relativity, which is an easy drinking whiskey. Glenlivet, 18-year, number one 18-year in the world, versus our Relativity, plus 40 minutes. Won a blind paired comparison taste test, nearly 2-to-1. So we have a collaboration, as is done in today's world, a collaboration between Edrington and what we call Brain Brew Distilling at the Eureka Ranch. And as they say, our slogan is, some call us the crazy ones, and we're okay with that. Whiskey in about 40 minutes. As Ken Greer from the account says, if anyone has any questions about how well innovation engineering works, have them call me. So that's an example of a game changer. And that's one. And thank you to the Edrington folks for enabling and allowing us to talk about it. I can tell you there are many others of these going on for some of the world's largest corporations right now. Mind-blowing things that you'd never even imagine.